I think a commissioned position is very different than what we are discussing today.
Representative Omar, I mentioned the fact that it's not just limited to commission. It's also for anybody that is demoted. So you can be in a regular job, not part of a commission situation, but if you're failing to perform, you'll get demoted, and then you get a pay cut with it. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. So I know Representative O'Neill has that experience having owned a business, and so I think she was speaking to that.
That is a ridiculous question, and I
Yes or no?
No.
I will take that as a yes.
I am not going to respond to that.
What's up, Patriots? Welcome back. Now, I've seen my fair share of awkward moments in Congress, but what we're about to watch takes it to a whole new level of, I have no idea what I'm talking about. We've got Representative Ilhan Omar, a figure whose own record is, let's say, controversial, trying to go toe-to-toe with people who actually know how the world works. First, she attempts to lecture Elliot Abrams, a man who has forgotten more about foreign policy than most will ever know. Then, she turns to a room full of business owners, offering advice on how to pay employees, despite never having run even a small business, let alone a multi-million-dollar enterprise. The arrogance is hard to ignore. Here's a sitting congresswoman, someone who has faced ethics investigations and accusations of anti-Semitism, acting as if she's the moral compass of the United States. It's absurd. She isn't in any position to question the integrity of a sandwich, let alone seasoned experts. Let's roll the first clip, where she tries to land a gotcha on Abrams and ends up looking like a middle schooler in a debate club.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for your testimonies. Mr. Adams, in 1991, you pleaded guilty to 2 counts of withholding information from Congress regarding your involvement in the Iran-Contra affair, for which you were later pardoned by President George H.W. Bush. I fail to understand why members of this committee or the American people should find any testimony that you give today to be truthful.
If I can respond to that.
It wasn't a question. That was not a question. I reserve the right to my time.
It is not right.
That was not a question.
Committee can attack
on February 8th,
who is not permitted to reply.
That was not a question. Thank you for your participation. On February 8th, 1982, you testified before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee about U.S. policy in El Salvador. In that hearing, you dismissed as communist propaganda report about the massacre of El Mozote, in which more than 800 civilians, including children as young as 2 years old, were brutally murdered by U.S.-trained troops. During that massacre, some of those troops bragged about raping a 12-year-old girl before they killed them. Girls before they killed them. You later said that the U.S. policy in El Salvador was a fabulous achievement. Yes or no, do you still think so?
From the day that President Duarte was elected in a free election to this day, El Salvador has been a democracy. That's a fabulous achievement.
Yes or no, do you think that massacre was a fabulous achievement that happened under our watch?
That is a ridiculous question, and I
yes or no?
No.
I will take that as a yes.
I am not going to respond to that kind of personal attack, which is not a question.
Yes or no, would you support an armed faction within Venezuela that engages in war crimes, crimes against humanity or genocide, if you believe they were serving U.S. interest, as you did in Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua?
I am not going to respond to that question. I'm sorry. I don't think this entire line of questioning is meant to be real questions, and so I will not reply.
Whether under your watch, a genocide will take place, and you will look the other way because American interests were being upheld, is a fair question. because the American people want to know that anytime we engage a country, that we think about what our actions could be and how we believe our values are being furthered. That is my question. Will you make sure that human rights are not violated and that we uphold international and human rights?
I suppose there's a question in there, and the answer is that the entire thrust of American policy in Venezuela is to support the Venezuelan people's effort to restore democracy to their country. That's our policy.
I don't think anybody disputes that. The question I had for you is that does the interest of the United States include protecting human rights and include protecting people against genocide?
That is.
Wow. Did you catch that? She dredges up events from 35 years ago, cases that were already settled or pardoned, in an attempt to discredit current U.S. policy on Venezuela. It's a total smear job. Elliot Abrams is a seasoned statesman. The look on his face says it all. Are you serious right now? And here's the thing. She doesn't actually want an answer. She throws out a question. He tries to explain the nuance of a complex 1980s civil war, and she cuts him off. That wasn't a question. It was a statement. So, Ilhan, if your goal is just to hear yourself talk, go start a podcast. Don't waste taxpayers' time in a hearing that's meant to actually help the people of Venezuela. Abrams handled her with total class, pointing out just how absurd her hypothetical questions were. He knows she's not there for the truth. She's there for a Twitter clip. But wait, it gets better. Or worse, depending on how much you value your brain cells. Next clip. She switches from foreign policy, where she flopped, to labor law. She asks a business owner why anyone would ever reduce an employee's pay. Really? Let's watch as she gets schooled in real time.
I'm just wondering, I was a union member for a long time, and I've also gotten an opportunity to work in the private sector. And I'm curious to know if you know of any employer that has a provision where they decrease pay for employees. I find that a little strange, and so I just wanted to know where that thought comes from, and if you know where an employee gets their pay decreased.
Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I was a business owner. I recently sold my share, so I don't own it anymore, but there are plenty of businesses out there, especially those that depend on employees' productivity, like I was in the trades. So I owned a company that was a tile setting company, and if we didn't get out there and do the work, and if I didn't have highly productive employees, they were paid based on their productivity. So if they had issues, it is very possible that their pay would reflect those issues. If they were on probation for something, for some sort of violation, that could be coordinated with a pay reduction. It's something that businesses do all the time, and it could be the step before someone is actually fired. So it's an important thing, and it gets people's attention, when they see it in their paycheck that their performance does not meet the standard.
Representative Omar.
Hudson, I think, did you have some things?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Hudson. Was there a question for Mr. Hudson?
No, I think he was saying that he wanted to add something, so I didn't know if he had something to add.
Mr. Hudson, is there a response to the question? Do you have a response to that question?
Madam Chair, yes, ma'am.
Are you saying that you aren't aware of any businesses that decrease pay? Because that was the question.
Madam Chair, I think what Chair O'Neill perhaps could be referring to, there are some instances where the pay structure is different. So for an example, she had indicated that she had come out of the towel industry. I'm not sure if these were commissioned employees who may have been on like an 80-20 split. In that instance, there is a situation where a pay might be reduced. Or if we have a supervisor who perhaps had a performance improvement issue or a behavioral concern, and we demoted this supervisor, that is an instance where pay might be decreased. But just an employee who has not been under some sort of performance improvement program, having their pay reduced, I've never heard of that.
Well, Mr. Hudson, I think Representative Neal knows exactly what she says. And I think we've had a little conversation back here when the question was asked. I know Representative Uglum, do you want to speak to that point?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Omar, if you happen to be a salesman in this world, and you can be selling cars, you could be selling siding, you could be selling just about anything, and you are paid on commission. So if you don't sell anything, you don't make anything. So you can have good years, you can have bad years. Probably really one of the best examples is a real estate agent. So it's the idea that people can make less money year to year, not to mention all the bonus situations that are out there in industry. It happens. It happens a lot. It doesn't necessarily happen, here in the public sector, but it's pervasive and very, very common in the private sector. Thank you.
And I'd like to add that in the private sector as well, people, if they are not performing at their job, get demoted, and with that demotion comes a pay cut. And that's not even related to being in a commission position, that's just in a regular position as well. Representative Omar.
I think a commissioned position is very different than what we are discussing today.
Representative Omar, I mentioned the fact that it's not just limited to commission. It's also for anybody that is demoted. So you can be in a regular job, not part of a commission situation, but if you're failing to perform, you'll get demoted, and then you get a pay cut with it. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. So I know Representative O'Neill has that experience having owned a business.
Guys, I am literally embarrassed for her. Did you see the faces of those business owners? They had to explain to a United States representative how commission works. They had to explain that if you don't sell anything, you don't earn money. They had to explain that if you're demoted for poor performance, your paycheck reflects that. This is Basic Economics 101. And there she sits with that smug look, acting like she just uncovered some massive conspiracy. No, Ilhan, it's called merit. It's called the private sector. It's how the real world functions outside the government teat. She tries to backtrack with, oh, commission is different. No, it's not. The principle is the same. You get paid for the value you provide. Less value, less money. The fact that she finds this surprising tells you everything about her worldview. She wants everyone to get a trophy and a paycheck, whether they show up or do the work. Bottom line, Ilhan Omar is out of her league. Whether it's historical foreign policy or the basics of running a business, she consistently proves she's more interested in being a squad celebrity than a serious legislator. On Elliot, Abrams and those business owners didn't just answer her questions, they highlighted that she has no business asking them in the first place. But hey, that's my take. What do you think? Is she the most out-of-touch person in DC? Or is the competition just too stiff? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you're tired of this nonsense.